Yo, Sleepy Sheepy here. Today we're attempting some of the most diabolical PvP challenges to date. The good people over at the Bad Red Man subreddit have cooked up a fresh batch of invasion-based tests that will plumb the very depths of our skill, creativity, and ability to get lucky. So honestly, this resulted in some of the most wild invasions I've had so far, so I hope you'll stick around to the end, and let's go ahead and jump into it. Alright, so to start things off, we'll be looking at the Debuff Medley. So this is going to be a challenge where rainbow stones decide what status effects we need to deliver throughout the invasion. So at the beginning of this, we get 3 different status effects associated with the different colors of the rainbow stones, so we're going to be trying to deliver Frost, Madness, and Sleep. And Sleep is pretty easy, especially with a Frost pot. We can just toss one at our opponents, and one does miss, but the next one does connect, so we're in a good spot there. And now we're going to be going for Sleep. Now, it is not super difficult to get people with the Sleep pot, but the players that I'm playing against are not really great people to be going for sleep pots because there's so much open space and they're moving around a decent amount. It is just kind of tricky, and there's also a lot of projectiles that I need to look out for. So as you can see, the projectiles start coming. We do get a lot of the Health and Steeple Ash of War followed up by the Moon spell there, so things are a little bit difficult. Eventually we do wear down some of their FP and start going after the Phantom with our Power Stance Trinas. Now this is on a Dexterity build. Part of the reason is I didn't know what status effects that I'd be running as I started the invasion, so that's kind of the difficulty of this particular challenge, is that you don't know what you're going to be running and trying to achieve, so you need to have access to everything and you're not going to be optimized for anything. So part of that is I am running a America's Soreseal, which means that it's going to boost my faith and intelligence, but it does increase the amount of damage that I take, so I need to be worried about that. I do get the sleep proc using the Trinas, so now I need to try to go for Madness, and obviously like Spirit is a pretty good option, especially on a Dex build where I don't really have a lot of faith for, you know, Madness incantations. So Power Stance Great Spear is always a fun option, and they do a surprising amount of damage on a fairly unoptimized build. So here we get a nice jumping attack, and we actually do get a sleep pot to connect, so we've gotten sleep twice now. We've also gotten Frost, and now we just need to deliver the Madness proc. So we're going after the Phantom here. We end up killing them before we get the proc, and now we need to play a little bit more carefully. If we deliver too much damage on this host before we get the Madness to proc, we will have failed the challenge. So a lot of time goes by. Again, we wear down some of their FP, and we begin kind of going after them with our Power Stance Great Spears here. We can see how much damage we're doing and also how little health they have. So those are both kind of concerning things, and I will start changing up my playstyle a little bit and start using just the single spear. We can see how useful that is just as a roll catch with the crouching attack. That's a very strong option, you know, just for delivering a lot of damage consecutively with this type of setup, and it's also pretty good for delivering some chip madness. So that's going to be pretty nice for us. And here we go for a running heavy with just the R1 rather than the L1, and that's going to be a nice way to just almost kill our opponent. We got very lucky there. They nearly died, and had we gone for the Power Stance attack, they definitely would have, but they do take a moment to heal again, and here we finally get the Madness. So we're pretty jazzed about that. We just kind of acknowledged this, and this was a very long invasion. I've cut out substantial portions of it just because there's a lot of spells that kind of came my way, spell spam that I needed to look out for, but we were successful in delivering all 3 of those status effects. Now this next one took me a couple tries. The goal is to land a Shunter attack, specifically the Shunter Ash of War, while you're wearing the Dog the Bounty Hunter mask or the Black Wolf mask, and I didn't read the description all the way, and I also just had like a number of challenges. Again, I'm running this on a Dex build, which means that we get E scaling with Dexterity for the Shunter, so not very good scaling, and that adds a challenge of it where we need these players to be in one-shot range. Now we still do get 708 damage, but we needed 710 damage for that player, so unsuccessful, and we weren't wearing the mask. You can see how upset we were just after that attempt, but you know, it was good practice, and we know better for next time. Actually, we didn't. We forgot the mask again in the second one, but it was just kind of so funny, I thought I should include it. So we start things off with a player that's running a shield and a Colossal Sword, and there's definitely some latency. You see how late that hit came out, so we do need to be a little bit careful, but the power stance katanas are really putting in work here, and we're able to just land one L1, followed it up with an unsheath, and turn this into a 1v1. Now this player with the Moonlight Greatsword is really swinging away a lot, which we're going to use to our advantage, and we do put on the Spear Talisman as well as Shard of Alexander to really try and boost the damage that we'll get from the Shunter Ash of War, despite the fact that we're running this on a dex build. So one thing that we do is change our helm over to the one that gives us a little bit more strength. So had we read the description better, we would have put on the other kind of dog mask, but unfortunately we cannot read. We're an invader, we have that type of brain, so we just, you know, try to optimize and see what happens. And here we do actually connect our Ash of War and one-shot the Moonlight Greatsword player as they try to knock us out of our animation, but the insane hyper armor that comes with the Shunter really makes things possible. So now we have read the description, we're doing things correctly, and we've got our wolf mask on, and we want to kill this phantom almost immediately, so we land a couple of L1s and then just chase them down. And here we have the Virgin Abductor that's, you know, doing its job, connecting it with the host. And here I would love to say that I timed things just right as they pop out of the abductor. Unfortunately, we're just a little bit early and then a little bit late with the follow-up, so we do need to kind of start from scratch with this player, and we'll be trying to get in our Shunter Ash of War kills. We're doing a bit of chip damage, just, you know, using the moveset. Obviously, the Shunter is a phenomenal weapon, and the moveset is quite strong, but the player is able to get back to the Site of Grace and get their Phantom back in the mix. So we'll need to really focus on that player, get this back into a nice one-on-one situation. We're all set up with our, you know, equipment here. We've got the mask to complete the challenge, so we'd really like to get the completion here. Now the Phantom is doing a little bit better this time around. They're playing a little bit more safely, and we don't have the element of surprise like we did last time, so we're going to need to avoid these very high damaging attacks that come from Troll's Roar, as well as the long stun that comes from the Colossal Sword. That can be very problematic, but here we're able to jump in and land 700 damage on this player as they go for their incantation. They heal up, but we punish it with an L1 and follow that up with a Unsheath Roll Catch. So that Unsheath Roll Catch is such a strong option. If you delay it just a little bit, you'll oftentimes be within range and just, you know, do so much damage in the process. So finally, we wear down this host. We're switching back and forth between the two katana setup just to get them into one-shot range, and here we do just that. And now we go for our Ash of War. Unfortunately, we miss, but we do go for the follow-up and get that last bit of 19 damage that we needed while wearing the proper mask, so we can call that challenge completed. Now, this challenge is kind of wild. It's called Swat Me Like a Fly, and that's because what you'll be going for is a parry or a backstab while you have just about every health debuff you can imagine applied. So that means 3 talismans that all increase the amount of damage that you take, as well as a aromatic that also increases the amount of damage that you take, and then the Scarab Helm, which also increases the amount of damage that you take. So the idea is you'll be going for a parry, and if you fail the parry, you'll essentially get one shot or very close to it. Now, this invasion started out pretty well, where we're able to take care of one Phantom very quickly with just a swing of the katana, but things get a little bit messy as Madness gets into the mix, as well as Elden Stars, and we're really not in a good environment for delivering the types of attacks we'd like to, where we just have this kind of intense 45-degree angle slope that's, you know, sometimes putting hitboxes in weird places. So we also have to deal with a substantial amount of latency from the Phantom. So earlier, I don't know if you saw the jumping attack that I went for, but it, you know, totally connected on my screen, but then they rolled away half second later and no damage connected. So I switched over to the whip because I feel like the Arumi is a better option in some cases for very latent players. It doesn't have the same burst damage that the power stance katanas does, but it is quite nice in its heavy attack, and just the hitbox is a little bit more forgiving, I feel, than power stance katanas. So we do get some damage off, but we do need to back off and just try to avoid the incoming attacks from the Phantom. And we can also see Wrath of Gold coming out from the Phantom as they try to blow me off the side of the cliff. So very scary there. Here we are able to knock them out. Unfortunately, we don't get our Beast's Roar. The host kind of took the bullet for the Phantom, which was unfortunate, but we do end up successfully chasing them down. Now here we get stunned for 2 hits and are almost dead, but we do have a chance to back off and start changing up our talismans so we can go for the parry. I really appreciated the fact that the host just let me do whatever I wanted for an extended period of time. You don't often get that, especially in kind of a tight area. They do get tired eventually and start throwing things at me, which is fair, but now we're all set up, or at least so I thought. The host almost walks off the edge, which would have been kind of heartbreaking, but they do continue on throughout the level, and we start going for some parries. And here, let's take a look at how much damage that one hit did. So obviously the Swap Me Like a Fly name is pretty accurate, but we do get the parry. However, again, we failed to read and we did not have the Scarab Mask applied. So we'll need to try to do this again, and I absolutely did. So we'll be cutting this down a little bit as we show some, other attempts that were a lot faster. Here we just have a blue, and we actually have the Scarab Mask applied as well as the 4 talismans that we need to increase the amount of damage that we take. The hard part here is baiting them into an attack because they are playing quite passively. Here they do go for 1 hit that does almost all of our HP, but we have a moment here to heal up. We anticipate they'll want to punish that, so we can go ahead and grab the parry and finish off the blue. But I wasn't exactly thrilled with this. I felt like we could do a little bit better. Just killing a random blue is not as satisfying as killing a host. So we're going to go for 1 more. And here things start off pretty great. We have a Phantom that seemingly is AFK. They do decide to get back into the world, but it's kind of too little too late. They start running away with almost 0 health, and we can chase them down pretty effectively. We just get a nice light attack with one of our katanas, and we can reset back to neutral. So here we start running away as we begin the talisman swap process that we need to really increase the amount of damage that we'll start taking. We put on the right hat, and we do need to apply the Blood Boil Aromatic, so we back off a little bit. Fortunately, we don't get hit by the Rot Breath, which probably would have one-shot us because we have so many debuffs applied, but we can pull out our parry shield and start getting ready to go. And at this point the host pulls out Claws with Blood Flame Blade, so they just made this a whole bunch scarier. That's an already very strong setup. The fact that you have true combos associated means that you're very much likely to die in the process if you don't land your parry correctly, but here they Bloodhound step in, which gives us all the information that we need to deliver a well-timed parry, and we successfully get that parry off without dying. So another very fun invasion, another successful challenge. And moving on to the Environmentalist challenge, this one got very interesting. The idea is to win an invasion without doing any damage, and some people may note that I'm going for what looks like the chainsaw glitch, but I'm actually not. I'm going for the finger saw glitch. And the finger saw does no damage, it does some stun, and that's kind of it. So you can essentially push your opponent in a direction if you get it to connect. But it's extremely hard to pull off. Here I'm actually successful after many tries, but if you get knocked out of the animation, you have to start trying again, and you have to get your opponent to come near you, and it's, yeah, you can just see there, rivers of blood makes it virtually impossible to land that. So what we do is we kind of give up on the finger saw. It's too hard, and we'll go for just a pure rejection kill. So it takes me a while, but eventually Oonga Boonga, the host in this world, does Oonga Boonga me. We go for Endure, followed up by rejection, and get the Environmentalist kill. But I wasn't totally satisfied with how that went. I thought it was fine, but it was like, kind of the low-hanging fruit of winning that type of invasion. Now, this next one, I really need to stress how lucky I got. First of all, I didn't know what challenge I'd be going for in the beginning of this invasion. I was thinking about using some Christmas tree arrows and getting off a blight kill potentially, but I thought, this doesn't really feel like the right area. I don't know if I'll be able to drop things for these players, so maybe I'll go for another rejection kill. But then I realized that I had changed up my inventory. I didn't have the right spells. I didn't have rejection on this build. So I'd need to go for something else if I wanted a gravity kill. And the astute observer will probably see where this is going. I thought, you know what, let's try the finger saw one more time. This was extremely lucky. Like, I can't stress how many things had to go right for this to work out. And what I needed to make sure happened was the Phantom needed to probably be dead, but they were still in the world. The host had to not fall off. I'd have to be able to go for this frame perfect input for this absolutely ridiculous glitch that, you know, does no damage, is extremely slow moving, and I actually managed to get it on my second try. So that was part of how absurd this was. Now next, the Phantom does fall off the edge and die, and now it's a one-on-one with the host. Now the host can knock me out of this extremely easily. They go for a projectile, I'm dead. I can't really move quickly, otherwise I have to start over. But fortunately they have one of the slowest weapons in the game, and here you can see some insane spacing on my part where I walk backwards extremely slowly, and here they try to one-shot me. They go for their heavy attack, and I'm able to stun them out of it and just gently nudge the wholesome host into the abyss. So I hope you appreciate the level of difficulty here and the amount of luck. I don't think I could repeat that if I tried like 1,000 times, but it really worked out. So I was so happy to get that, and now we'll move on to Death from Above. Now this involves a extremely creative combo where you go for the Crimson Burst tier, or I don't even know, it's the Ruptured tier, which makes your body explode when the tier goes off, but you use that explosion to trigger Raptors of the Mist, and then once you trigger Raptors of the Mist and you're still in the air, you go for a dragon incantation. So I switched between the Glintstone Breath and the Placidusax Ruin. Both of them were quite fun, and really needed to just make sure that a player dies in the process. It doesn't have to be from the Dragon Breath at the end, but if they die earlier, you still need to go for the Dragon Breath. So here we try to bait our opponents just to be really aggressive, and we'll start trying to line up the full combo. And one thing I used to help myself was Iron Jar Aromatic, because if you get stunned at the same time you're trying to go for Raptors of the Mist, it won't happen. And here you can see what happens when it fails. We still get a lot of damage, we still defeat the host, but it was unsuccessful. And we're going to try this again now. We've ended up alone with the host here. We've got Placidusax Ruin in the mix. We go for Iron Jar Aromatic, and we also want to get rid of our Frostbite because we don't want to get Frost procced when we're trying to go for Raptors of the Mist. So we just kind of edge walk in towards this host that's pretty aggressive, which we love to see. We go for our Physic. We do get Frost proc, but it's not too much to cause any problems, and we're actually able to get the full combo where we explode ourselves, go into Raptors of the Mist, and then trigger Placidusax Ruin. So that's a successful one right there, but I thought we could do just a little bit better. So I repeated the challenge again, and here we have a group of 3, and we just have such a great spawn for this challenge. It's a very small area. We can go for Iron Jar Aromatic immediately. We can go ahead and get that Physic going. We pop off and then go for Placidusax Ruin. We unfortunately don't get all 3 people. Had it been a different Dragon Breath, we might have, but we did get at least 2, so I had a ton of fun with that, and we're ready to move on to the next challenge. Now, the next challenge is the Christmas Special, and here we'll be delivering some gifts as well as decorating our Christmas tree. So to do that, we're going to drop some items, make sure that the players emote in just response. They need to gesture and kind of acknowledge to some degree that they've received the gifts and are happy about it. So here we have 2 players that do that, and now we need to create our Christmas tree. So we're going to go ahead and get our Death Flare buff on our Eclipse Shuttle and start going after the Phantom here. And we need to do this for 2 players in the same invasion, which definitely adds a degree of difficulty. Now, we're just going to be attacking pretty aggressively. We need to make sure that we don't get hit by their Ash of War, but we can be pretty aggressive against just a single dagger. And here we can see how many hits we're able to actually achieve in this short period of time, which is really just all we need. And we can get that Blight applied, and now we start decorating our Christmas tree. So we're going to be using Barrage and Rainbow Stone arrows to put some nice lights on the tree, and we can start going after the host. Now, I'm using a unleveled Eclipse Shuttle because we want Blight to be the source of the kill rather than damage. Otherwise we don't get, the Christmas tree. So unfortunately this host takes a decent amount of damage rather quickly from some of the PvE, and they start backing off. They go for a couple swings, but we're able to stun them before those swings are successful. And here I was hoping they would heal, but instead we got hit with the dreaded disconnect. So they just kind of took the presents and left, and it was very unfortunate. Now, we go ahead and try again. We have a group of 3, and we drop some Rainbow Stones, we drop some gifts, and we can see very clearly that one of the Phantoms is quite happy, that the host is being very respectful and bowing, but they do seem kind of overeager here. They swoop in before the other Phantom could possibly grab the gift. They jump to acknowledge that they're very happy about it, and so we go ahead and get ready to drop a third one, but the host has kind of had enough, and they immediately move to the top of the naughty list as they go for an attack while I'm dropping them something. Now the Phantoms aren't sure entirely, but one starts going for Blasphemous Blade, and this third one seems a little unsure whether they should attack me. They can see that I haven't been too aggressive, so they're just kind of chilling. I would say they're in third place on the naughty list because after they turn on their lantern, they start getting a little aggressive here. And as we're trying to roll away, we're still trying to be friends. We get hit with Blasphemous Blade, and that third Phantom does start aggressing with their katana. Now, I ran around for a very long time trying not to do any damage, but eventually the Phantom fell off the edge and the host continued to be aggressive, so I thought I would change my tack. And even if these players can't be on the nice list, we can at least turn them into a Christmas tree. So we'll go ahead and back off a little bit and try to avoid the incoming damage from the several different players here. Things are, still moving hot and heavy. Fortunately, the host is fat rolling, probably weighed down by all of their stolen gifts. And we're going to go ahead and try to avoid these lightning strikes. Now we've got the Eclipse Shuttle pulled out, and we'll back off a little bit. We do need to make sure that it's nice and buffed, so we'll again avoid these jumping attacks from the host. We do get hit by one, but it does virtually no damage, so we're really just focused on the Phantom here that can, do regular amounts of damage. And we back off again and get them into this nice small tunnel. We drop a rope volcano pot just to zone a little bit and manage to actually guard break the host with our Ash of War. So that's delivered quite a bit of blight, which is really what we're going for. And here we can swing wildly until our hearts, for our heart content, and we get aggressive again and do manage to turn that player into a Christmas tree. Now, I did want to swap and use Barrage and decorate the tree, but I had a parry shield on hand and didn't realize it, so we'll just give them a wave and move on to our last invasion of the showcase. Now here we have two players. We've dropped a Rainbow Stone, and we're going ahead and going to drop them some presents. So these players seemed pretty wholesome, so I wanted to drop them some Lord's Runes and, kind of sweeten the deal a little bit. So I go ahead and start emoting. The Phantom seems to get the picture immediately. They're encouraging the host to come over and grab that item. We do get a red and a green stone, which I just feel like is perfect for Christmas, so some nice luck from the random number generator. And eventually, I think the host, feels like they're comfortable with it. They take a while, they go into their inventory or their menu and figure out how to emote after, unequipping their weapons just to show their friendliness, but there they do show their gratitude with a nice jump for joy, and we want to reward the Phantom for playing such a nice role in this as well, so we drop another Lord Rune and indicate to the Phantom that we'd like for them to pick it up. So they're pretty jazzed about it as well, immediately going into crouch, picking it up. We go ahead and gesture to them as well, and we're hoping that they'll show their thanks also, because it's just kind of part of the challenge, and they also jump for joy, so we're in a great spot, we're ready to go. And here I don't want to be too aggressive immediately, so we just try to indicate to the Phantom that we're going to start attacking them. So we go ahead and give them the point, they start crouching, they seem to understand. Their ability to read the situation was phenomenal, so huge shout out to this player. I walk up to them and see if I can get off my Ash of War. It doesn't connect, and we have actually pretty bad latency, so I'm able to just swing extremely wildly. Fortunately, this player is rolling into me, which means they're getting caught by tons of late hits and phantom hits, and they're running almost no poise, which means we're probably more likely to blight them quickly. And here we do get the tree decorated with at least one rainbow arrow. So I indicate to the host that we're in a great spot now, things are going along quite well, and we go ahead and buff our Eclipse Shuttle. So we're going to be going after this player with Bloodhound Fang. I do need to worry about their hyper armor. I'm playing a little bit fast and loose and thinking that it's patch 1.9 and that I will not get, absolutely obliterated by hyper armor, but fortunately they are swinging kind of wildly and aren't doing too much damage. So we need to keep an eye on our bleed, but we're in a very great position. Assuming they don't disconnect and that we don't kill them from damage, it feels very possible for us to deliver the blight. And here we get a nice backstab with the Eclipse Shuttle. We can see that it's unleveled because it does under 300 damage, and we're just, maximizing the amount of blight that we can deliver here. We rebuff our weapon and get a little bit patient here, wait for them to finish their Ash of War, and as they roll away, we start getting aggressive again, allowing them a little bit of time to heal, and that means we are able to successfully decorate the tree. 3. So a very fun invasion, and I hope you enjoyed this challenge run. I certainly did. It was one of my favorites. If you made it this far and wouldn't mind considering subscribing, I'd really appreciate it, and I hope you have a good day.